Hey friends, I have had a grouping of books on my TBR bookshelf that I have not read, and they are mostly left over from college classes that I took about 3 years ago now, a while ago now. I have decided in this reading vlog to finally start reading this grouping of books that I've had, and it is world fiction. So I kind of grouped my own little things in this category as well. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books in this category, which is crazy. Most of them are really short, so I think they'll be really quick reads. And it's a culmination of, I did take a world literature class that is actually adult literature, and so I have books left over from that. And then I took a children's literature class, and we also have books left over from that I didn't get to in class. So some of these are adult reads, some of these are more children's reads, but also a little bit more mature, probably like young adult. I've decided to just dive into this world literature, and I feel like it's really good for me to read books that are set in different countries and in different cultures, because that's really how I learn. Like, not quite book smart when it comes to textbooks, but if I'm reading someone's story, then I remember parts of their culture and I remember like their story, and so I'm better at learning geography because I remember they went from here to there. So I just think this is really exciting because I think I'm going to learn a lot from this. And some of these are fiction, some of them are nonfiction, some of them are based on real stories, some of them are real stories. First up, I read Golda Slept Here, and I don't have any footage of me reading this because a lot of my reading has been right before bed, and I don't really set up my camera while I'm just sitting and reading in bed. But basically, this is a book about a Palestinian woman who interviews friends and family who have stories to tell about losing their homes. And it's just really heartbreaking. I remember reading and learning about Palestinians while I was in one of my world literature classes, and I just feel like that perspective is not shared, and especially with everything going on right now, it's just really devastating. And a big part of it is that they were literally kicked out of their homes and just forced to leave. And I just couldn't imagine if you put yourself in their shoes and you just leave your home during this like battle, war, whatever, and then someone just lives in your home with all of your things, all of your memories. Like, it is just gut-wrenching to me. And so this one was a hard read because a lot of the stories are about the people that have lost their homes, and one of them is a woman that goes back and visits her home all the time because she basically refuses to allow the Jews that live there to live in peace because she wants her home back. It was pretty funny and I really liked her, but then you think about the reality of that. Like, this is her family's property, the garden that her dad planted, the furniture that her parents bought together when they got married. And you just think of yourself, and if someone was living in your home and using your things and you weren't able to have them anymore or to even go inside anymore, I just couldn't imagine. So this was a really heavy read, and honestly a good one for right now if you just want a Palestinian perspective. If you want to learn more about their side of things, then I would recommend this because it was really good. It is real, so these are people's real stories. So I'm not going to give a rating because that just feels wrong. So yeah, I would recommend. This was my first read and it was a pretty heavy read. I have just started In the Sea There Are Crocodiles, which is a really cute cover, and this one is about a boy that lived in Afghanistan, and I just finished the part where he was in school and then the Taliban came to his school and they basically just said that there should be no school, and then the teacher refused to stop school and he kept keeping it in session, and so the teacher was just murdered in front of all of these kids, which is again gut-wrenching, awful. And this boy is abandoned by his mom, and I haven't quite figured out fully why yet, but basically his dad was forced to work for the Taliban and just like carry things for them, like basically deliver for them and get shipments for them, that kind of thing. But then his dad was stolen from, and then his dad was murdered by these people that decided to steal from him. And so the Taliban threatens their family because they lost their supplies and all those kinds of things. So I think that's why the mom and her son ran away, but then this book starts with the son waking up and his mom is gone. And this one is based on a real story of a real kid who told the author his story, and so they wrote it together. So it's a little bit fictionalized, but it's for the most part what the kid remembers. And it's pretty good so far. It's honestly gonna be a really quick read, I think, because the font is really, actually it's really big. I was gonna say really small, but it's really big. And so far I am 31 pages in, and it's pretty cute because the first page is Afghanistan, and then the part that I just got to last night is Pakistan. So yeah, so far really cute, but I have quite the pile to read. And I will say too, The Book Thief I actually bought on my own, and I have read this book before. I really loved it, and I just want to read it as an adult because I read it when I was in middle school, which was a really long time ago, and I still remember it really well. So I just wanted to read this one again. And then the only other one that I bought of my own free will was The Shoemaker's Wife, which I got at a used library book sale. I've heard really good things, and it has like 4 stars on Goodreads. So I think this one is set in Italy, but I could be wrong. So we'll find out when I get to it. But that's my little update on all of those books. I did really like this one. I'm not gonna rate it because it's his story, or as much of his story as he knows is true. But I did like this one. It was a good one. Hurricane season, I did not finish this one because it was really dark, and the author admits that she was really angry when she wrote this one. I got about like 50 pages in, but it was just too much for me because basically it's about this woman that everyone calls the witch in this Mexican village. And the village is just on the outskirts of towns, and there's basically no police or anything there, and everyone just does what they want, and it's a lawless land. And it is just awful. Like, this book is a commentary on the patriarchy and all these things, and how bad the patriarchy is in Mexico and how much men have power there. And this one was just way too dark for me. So I tried to read it, but I knew if I finished it, I would just feel really gross. And I decided not to read this one. This one was not for me. And then on Friday, I literally read this entire book just like Friday night. And this one is about 2 Chinese boys that are sent to be re-educated in this little mountain village. And I didn't know this, but in China's history, re-education was for like the intellectuals, or the kids in schools, or the kids with really smart parents who were like doctors and dentists and all those kinds of things. And so these 2 boys have very important parents. Like, one of them, his parents are both doctors, and then the other one, his dad is a dentist. And so these boys are both re-educated in this little mountain village. And basically they just had to learn from the village people and like do chores in the little village town and things like that. This one was entertaining. It was a little weird, so not exactly my favorite, but it was a fun little read. It was cute. There's like a minor love story in it. But basically the boys become friends with another boy that's being re-educated in a village close by, and that boy has a bunch of like hidden Western books that are illegal in China. And so they, the 2 other characters, steal the books from him, and they just enjoy like reading them and everything. But it was supposed to be like a funny tale, I guess, and it's loosely based on the author's time of being re-educated. So I don't know how much of that was taken from his story, like how much he had written, how much he fictionalized. But it was just a fun, like, cute little read. Also, my hair is like wild because it was raining outside, and it was like pouring rain, and we had to stop at Meijer really fast. So I look a little crazy for this, but oh well. I started The Shoemaker's Wife the other day, and I'm about 60 pages in on chapter 5, and basically it's like a historical fiction, I feel like, but it's set in Italy. in like this small church basically with like nuns and priests and these two little boys that live with them. Basically the mom, Katerina, at the beginning of the book, she's really poor and her husband just passed away, and so she has two sons that she can't afford to take care of anymore, and she drops them off at a church with a bunch of nuns to have them take care of them. And the boys like in turn have to work for the church and everything, and then it kind of skips ahead to like 5 years later and the mom never came back for them, so the boys are just growing up in this church. And then there's also this family that has 5 kids, I believe, or maybe 6, and the oldest daughter is another main character as she's like taking care of them and stuff. It's a lot of different characters and a lot of different things happening, so I'm still kind of trying to get into it. Like, it's entertaining, but I wouldn't say that it's like my favorite yet. But I feel like I just haven't been recording me reading because I usually just read right before bed. So I was like, I gotta get some footage of me actually reading this book. Guys, today's a big day. I just paid off all of my student loans, which is absolutely crazy. I had quite a bit. I paid it all off today, so that is a crazy feeling. And then Ty and I applied for our passports for some exciting stuff that may or may not be coming soon. We shall see. But I applied for my passport today, which is like a lifelong dream. I want to travel so bad, and I'm one step closer to that. So it just feels crazy. And then to humble me a little bit, on the drive home with Ty from work, his car died in the middle of an intersection while the light was green and everyone was honking at us. And it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. But then thankfully his car started up again and we were able to make it home safely, and he's actually out right now looking at everything going on with his car. So, you know, I was like feeling really good on a high, and then that happened, and I feel like that's just how my life works. Like, I can't just have a good day. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's been a while since I filmed for you guys for this video, and it's been a while since I've uploaded on YouTube, so sorry about that. I finished The Shoemaker's Wife a while ago now. I don't even remember when I finished this book, and it was 4 stars. It was just such a beautiful book. It took a lot out of me because it's like a slow, leisurely read. And I just don't think we have enough of those, and there's not enough in the world. And so lately I've been like flipping through Colleen Hoover books, reading super fast. And this one was definitely, sorry, I just pushed Emmy because she was about to bite the camera, but this one was like a slow, leisurely read where you're like smelling the scents, seeing the flowers, paying attention to the writing, the words. Like, it was a very atmospheric experience, and it was absolutely beautiful. So 4 stars. If you are a historical romance girly or historical realistic fiction girly, this one is for you, and I think it's a hidden gem. Basically, it follows the story of Enza and Ciro, and Enza is the oldest of like 6 children, I believe, and she's basically like a second mother as the firstborn. And she helps take care of her family in this little mountain village in Italy. And then Ciro is a foster child. I'm probably not pronouncing that right because I don't have a beautiful Italian accent, so I'm sorry. But Ciro, I don't even know if I can say it right. He is an orphan abandoned at this nun convent. And him and his brother are left there by their mother, and then their mother promises to come back for them, and she never does. And so things play out, like a lot of stuff happens, and eventually Ciro meets Enza at her sister's funeral, and he's actually the gravedigger for her little sister, and they have this like night together, and they just talk, and they get to know each other, and they kind of have a little moment, like there's a little thing, and they like understand each other really well. And then a twist of fate, and Ciro has to go to America as an immigrant. And then Enza finds herself in a terrible situation, her family's in a terrible situation, and she also decides to come to America because of the American dream and the promise that you will be rich and have a job and all of those things. And so they both find themselves in New York City, and they just continue to run into each other, and they know each other, and they eventually fall in love. But I won't get into too many specifics because This book just really was beautiful. I have a ton of highlighted pages. I didn't annotate with like sticky notes just because I didn't have any. So I didn't annotate my like little notes and like keep track of them. But there was a lot that I ended up highlighting. Like this kind of got me back into annotating books because there were some beautiful quotes and just beautiful language, and like you basically just watch the characters grow up, like you read their lives, and it was a really, really awesome reading experience. So like I said, historical fiction, romance girlies, if you need like a book where you just need to sit and like be in the moment and like, I don't know, like you just are sick of the fast paced, you're stressed about your reading goal, whatever it may be, and you just need like a reprieve, I recommend this book. It is absolutely beautiful, and eventually you're gonna get hooked and not be able to put it down, but it's not gonna feel like a fast read. So yeah, I really liked this one, 4 stars. I also read Tasting the Sky. I'm not going to try to pronounce the author's name because I know I'm gonna do a terrible job. But this one follows a Palestinian little girl as the war is happening, and it basically tells her story of being a child during the war. Like she's 3 when there's a bombing and she's kicked out of her home. So it's a pretty crazy one. It's a memoir, so I'm not gonna rate this one just like the one before this. It was also very heartbreaking, and just seeing like her family and the beauty and brokenness in the world around her. But her story is really interesting, and the way she ties it all together is just really beautiful. This video is taking me forever to get through because life has been so crazy busy, and I just have been slowly moving through the books that I'm reading. I just finished Mornings in Jenin, and this one is like a fictional memoir feeling, but it tells the story of this Palestinian family through generations. So it starts with like the grandparents, and then it moves to like the mom and the father and the brother, and then it goes down to this little girl, and she's kind of the main character. But I will say this one, I would probably give it like 3.5 stars, because honestly at points like it got really confusing, where it was like the narrator was sometimes 3rd person, sometimes 1st person, and it would like switch every chapter, and then like the chapter titles kind of told you who was speaking, but it was just not the same throughout the entire book. So at points I was really lost, and honestly for like the first this much of the book I was like pushing through. It was not my favorite, but then the end is like so hauntingly beautiful. Like the last probably 100 pages, when the main character is an adult and she, like, her family has passed away, it's kind of just her, that is when it gets really interesting. And then I was really captivated and I just wanted to know what happened next, and at that point I couldn't put this book down. But it did take me a long time, and I did think about giving it up. So I don't know if I would recommend this one, but the end is just really beautiful and heartbreaking. So now I am on The Book Thief. I finally just have one left, and then I'm done reading world literature. But I'm about to head to Nashville for work, and I'll be gone all week. So I have no idea if I will have any time to read and finish this book. And then the new season of Emily in Paris just came out, so I'm like, I honestly just feel like vegging out and like watching that. So we'll see. I probably should read tonight, but I probably will not. Guys, finally, as you know, I have been reading all the books from my shelf that were books from around the world, world literature. And my final one was The Book Thief, which I just finished a couple days ago. And I actually read this one before when I was in middle school, or like, actually I think middle school. And I have always thought of this book. Honestly, I have never stopped thinking about it. Like, it always comes up in my mind because I love having death as the narrator. Like, I think that was such a clever choice for writing a book in the time of the Holocaust, and I can say that it lives up to my memory, and I remembered a lot of things that happened. There were some moments that I remembered differently from what actually happened in the book, and I like completely forgot some of the plot points that were really important. And so rereading this was really fun. If you, like me, read this when you were in like middle school or high school, I would recommend rereading it because it is a book that stays with you. And I was honestly surprised to see mixed reviews on Goodreads because this one is definitely a 5-star read for me. I really enjoyed it, and if you don't know anything about it, basically it follows this girl named Liesel as she is in Germany traveling with her mom and her younger brother who passes away. And this is like on the first page. And so her brother passes away, and so Death, the narrator, is coming to pick up her brother, and he becomes invested in Liesel, and he kind of tells the story of her growing up. And she comes to a foster family where she just really connects with the dad, and just kind of grows up in this little town in Germany and is witness to like Nazi parades and all these things that are really horrible and scary. And it's just basically the German perspective from a German family that doesn't fully agree with everything that Hitler is doing, which is a unique perspective for that time. So this book has so many good quotes, so many powerful moments, and just really beautiful writing. So it is still a 5-star read for me, and I'm really excited that I own my own copy of it now. But that officially concludes reading world literature, which I am so happy to have those books off of my shelf, to have reread this one and to just know how I feel about those books now, because they've always just sat there and I've been like, should I read them? Should I just get rid of them? And I'm like, I feel like I should read them, and now I have. And in the course of making this video, I have already sold 2 of them that I didn't want to keep. So that's also exciting to know that books that didn't really mean that much to me, I can pass on, and maybe they'll mean something to somebody else. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!